What's up, everybody? This is the Linda Cohn Show. I'm just pumped up. I was just talking to Dominic before we went on, and I'm like, I'm so grateful to everyone, all of you guys who have tuned in, tuning in live, tuning into the clips, tuning into my channel on YouTube. I thank you. We got over 18,500 subscribers as we speak. I gotta love it. I do love it. Keep it going. Liking, sharing, and subscribing is the key. Really appreciate it. Coming up, the great Dan, Fourth and Dan, will join us with his NFL takes. Something new we're instituting with Dan the man, my son. A little fantasy football tip, a little betting tip each week. So you'll want to stay tuned for that. Also coming up, what's up with Jaden Daniels? Jaden Daniels, this is a big year for you. You need to focus on the now, not in the past at LSU. We'll get to that. And also Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook, calling it a career after 18 seasons in the NBA. You'll get my thoughts on that as well. And of course, you can ask questions in the chat box. You can give comments in the chat box. Dom is all over that. And if you have some good questions, I'll answer them at the end of the show. It's the least I can do, so I appreciate it. But you know where we have to start, because I want to not talk about it, but they keep giving me material. Oh, it gets me crazy. I'm talking about the WNBA, and I'm talking about the head coach of the Indiana Fever first and foremost. Because why did you have to lie, Stephanie White? Why did you have to lie? I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt. I really wanted to believe you, Stephanie, and I'm talking to you, Stephanie. I know you're not listening, but you know what I'm talking about. When you told us 3 days after the fact, by the way, that you didn't see the flagrant 2 foul committed by DiJonai Carrington against your player, Sophie Cunningham, in real time Saturday night. That's what you told us 3 days later. But the evidence doesn't lie. Look at it. You're looking at the play. How can you tell us that? The picture, I feel like I'm doing Forensic Files and I'm Nancy Grace and I'm doing a documentary on some crime that was committed. I mean, this is what's crazy about it. You said back on Saturday when that play took place in the post game, right? That was the time, follow me here, that Stephanie White praised DiJonai Carrington and her defense and said nothing about her own player, Sophie. So 3 days later, she says, I didn't see the play in real time. Then if that was the case, even though it looks differently, but if that was the case, why are you praising the opposing player if you didn't see the play in real time? I don't understand it. There's a disconnect there. So instead of supporting your own player, you supported the opposing player, even though your player, Sophie Cunningham, went back to courtside bloodied. Stephanie White, here's the issue. I really wanted to believe her, but she created the mess that she's in right now. If only she told the truth. This is what she should have said Saturday after the play that involved Sophie Cunningham. She should have told the media then and there and told the truth. I did see the play. I'm glad DiJonai Carrington was thrown out. She deserved the flagrant 2 foul. I'm glad Sophie was not seriously hurt. I'm glad she's okay. That all should have happened at the same time. And then she should have grabbed the narrative and said, now let's talk about how great my team played and how we are led by Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell and what an amazing tandem they are. This is what head coaches do. They grab hold of the narrative. They create the narrative. They don't let people online create a narrative. They don't let the media in the room create the narrative. Head coaches of every sport do it this way. Why didn't Stephanie White do that? But she allowed this to fester all the way till Tuesday by not doing exactly what I said. And it's not just me. I'm no genius. Anyone who watches sports all these years understands what head coaches do. They call the shots. They control the narrative. Instead, she let it fester. Then it boiled over. Then Tuesday, before the Fever game against the Liberty, Stephanie White gave an emotional pregame statement that basically ripped everyone without herself looking in the mirror and taking some responsibility. She changed her story. She said, I did not see the play in real time. And really, again, the video, the pictures say differently. And that's not all. She also reiterated that she does have her players' backs 100% of the time. And the other thing, she could have shared with us that maybe she called a meeting with her players. I don't know if she did. That would have been a great thing to do, to have a sit down with your players. And if she did, to share it to us. But no, her emotional, passionate statement was ripping everyone, basically, except herself. Roll it, Dominic.
The fear-mongering, the divisiveness, the stuff that's trying to hijack our league will not win. It won't win. We are united. We are connected. We will not be divided. Every day these women put their on the line. Every day. When they go low, we go high. Love will win. Grace will win. Humility will win. And kindness will win. I stand by them. I will always stand by them. Everybody else can go to hell.
Really? Everyone else could go to hell, Stephanie White? What about the love? What about the grace? What about the humility? What about the integrity? What about taking the high road, which she had mentioned earlier? That's not taking the high road, telling everybody you don't agree with, go to hell. That's not what head coaches in control that don't let the outside bother them do. It was very disappointing because at first I was like happy that she was trying to take control of the narrative, even though it came a few days late. But she did a horrible job. But then after she took the court, because that came pregame, she took the court, she was booed by the hometown fans in Indiana. The Fever fans booed her. The players then went out and kicked the butts of the Liberty, won big in that game. And after that game, it was no secret the two players that were put up there on the podium to talk to the press was Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark. Let's hear from Caitlin. Roll it, Dominic.
I talked to Steph earlier in the day too, and I think we forget a lot of times, like, we're human and she has feelings, and there's moments that are really hard, and sometimes that's just the job you sign up for. But at the same time, like, it's okay to feel those emotions. And I just told her, like, I've been through the same thing. Like, there's been days where I've been really upset, and you can have the thickest skin in the world, but sometimes it does get to you. And I think our world is just like, we love to hate, we love to divide. Like, that's all we want to do. Like, nobody wants to see each other succeed. And I think that's a really painful thing for myself to watch. I feel like we need to do a better job at uplifting each other. And I can assure you there was no way we were losing this game tonight. And I told her that.
Caitlin Clark, once again, the adult in the room, articulating perfectly, doing the right thing, taking the high road, supporting her head coach, even though the body language in the past by her, by Cunningham, by other players during those press conferences when Stephanie White speaks, not all that good, which I have noticed over the weeks. But Caitlin Clark took the high road there. Why not? She should, because she cares about winning. She knows this team, a very entertaining Indiana Fever team. They are so good. I mentioned Caitlin. I mentioned Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, Sophie. I mean, they're playing with such great chemistry. Why ruin that? Why distract from the main goal, which is winning a championship? And that's what Caitlin Clark wants to do. She knows if she rips her coach, or if she, I don't know, if she kind of like hems and haws and sounds fake, that'll be a distraction. And that's what she doesn't want. She knows how good this team is. She talks like a head coach right there, does Caitlin Clark. She knows this team has a chance to win it all. She's not going to blow it by ripping her coach. Now, at the end of the year, things could change. Maybe they will have a players' meeting. I know management, came out with a statement earlier this week that they support Stephanie White and she's doing a great job, blah, 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 blah. But you know how those go. We'll see what happens at the end of the year. Here's what I hope happens. I hope Stephanie White, this is a wake-up call for her. It would be great if she stayed on as a head coach, if she changed her ways a bit. I hearken back. I never thought I would say hearken, but I hearken back to Tom Coughlin. Yes, I'm a big Giants fan. And if you remember when Tom Coughlin was the head coach at Jacksonville before he got to the Giants, he was a hard-nosed son of a bee, right? Players didn't like him all that much. He comes to the Giants. It didn't start off great. I remember Michael Strahan getting into it a lot with Tom Coughlin, and they talked. They had a meeting. And he echoed what players in the locker room were saying about their head coach. And guess what happened? Tom Coughlin looked in the mirror, altered his ways a bit, changed his personality a bit, understood the players a bit more, where they were coming from. And Tom Coughlin went on to win 2 Super Bowls with the New York Giants. That's what I would like to see from Stephanie White. It can happen. You don't have to lose your job. Just change your way and look in the mirror and stop the blame game. Question is, will she do it? All right. Wednesday night, I couldn't believe what I was looking at. DiJonai Carrington at it again, playing against Golden State. Early on, she got whistled for a technical because she was arguing a personal foul against her. Okay, whatever. Then later on in the game, she's making contact with many players from Golden State, and one you can't just ignore. Her hand went right into the face of an opposing player of Golden State. One of her nails basically went in this woman's eye. Those nails are a lethal weapon. Usually I don't knock, people with nails. They cost a lot of money. But I don't know if with the length of these nails that you should play in the WNBA. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, here's the thing. Why is DiJonai Carrington even in this game? This all could have been avoided if the league suspended her, as they should have, for the flagrant 2 foul against Sophie Cunningham. But no, that never happened. Also, the league never did anything about the posting on social media after she was ejected. That's against WNBA policy. She broke a rule. But guess what? No suspension, no fine, nothing. What kind of message does the WNBA continue to send? Why do they have rules? So DiJonai Carrington shouldn't even been in this game. But there she was, and there she is, making contact dangerously with opposing players. So much for one of the greatest defensive players in the league. I don't know what she's doing there. And she tried to hide it by putting her 2 hands up after. WNBA, just enforce your own rules. And DiJonai Carrington, we're going to watch her. Because how many times is she going to get away with striking opposing players in the face and the head? You don't see this in the NBA by one specific player. So she has to be better. But I really, really couldn't continue talking about the WNBA without mentioning that. It was all over social media. And you can see. And then she's thinking, like, what did I do? I didn't do anything. I'm not even going to get into her upbringing and comparing it to Sophie Cunningham. I know people on social media are saying, white privilege. Who had the white privilege? But I'm not going there. You can Google it. Remember that, how to define a woman? I brought it up last week. Told you about Kathy Engelbert, the WNBA commissioner, organizing a task force, which was happening this week. Well, it happened. And it was a big nothing burger. Nothing happened. Yeah. Shocked? No, I'm not shocked. By the way, this task force was made up of team execs, general managers, team presidents, general managers. And so after this fascinating meeting that they had, they came out with a statement. You're looking at it, small type there, so I'll read it to you. Today's meeting covered a wide range of topics, including ongoing discussions on transgender athletes and the continued hate and vitriol directed at players online. We will continue to engage all league stakeholders in the coming weeks and months. We will approach the important conversations thoughtfully and in alignment with the values of our league. Here's the best part. There are no immediate eligibility matters affecting the WNBA, and we strongly denounce the bad faith efforts to use these topics to demean or marginalize others. End of statement. That bad faith kind of directly aimed at Enes Kanter and Royce White and how they're going to enter or have plans to enter the WNBA draft next year to test the policy, to test the eligibility policy. That is what they're referring to with the bad faith. This is so disappointing, but I'm not surprised. Instead of during this meeting acknowledging other governing bodies in other sports, like the World Tennis Association, like the IOC, like World Boxing, like Women's Athletics, which governs track and field, UCI, which covers international cycling. All of those groups are on top of this. All of those groups are proactive regarding transgender athletes, or how some would say biological males competing in women's sports. I wish the WNBA would have talked about that and mentioned that and said something like, we realize other governing bodies with other women's sports are looking into this and have made decisions and have changed their policy. Most recently, the WTA did that. But they were like, I don't even know if anything was discussed. Okay, we have no way of knowing, of course. Maybe they just had lunch and a cup of coffee. But to not acknowledge this could be an issue, because you hear that from the other side. You always hear, oh, well, there are no transgender athletes playing in the WNBA right now, and no transgender athlete has applied to play in the WNBA. Well, here's what you did. You just created a bigger hole for yourself to climb out of. You just created a heavier obstacle to move down the road. Instead of just right now taking a hold of it, being proactive, saying something. Maybe you didn't get, you didn't change everything. You're not going to change it right there after one meeting. You have to go through collective bargaining and all that. I get all that. But you could have at least acknowledged what is going on in this world right now and be prepared for it. Obviously, they did not do that. All right, I just put a bow on that. I can't even talk. It's getting me nudgy, as I like to say, all these WNBA topics. But there are some great things going on in the league, and I do watch, and I do see, and I hope you're noticing all the records that are being broken and all the great play that is taking place, because we're not ignoring it. It's just these other topics off the court and on, when it comes to DiJonai Carrington, overwhelm in the hypocrisy and the rules not being enforced. And the officiating still one of the biggest topics that have to be looked at continuously. Boy, I hope it gets better in the playoffs. Well, I won't hold my breath. All right. Can we talk about Jaden Daniels? Can we talk about he needs to get rid of some people around him? He's getting bad advice. Here's what we know. There was an ESPN report that said the franchise quarterback for the Washington Commanders, he used to play at LSU. He has this lawyer, his team, and he says, the lawyer, that Daniels is disappointed, disgusted, and reportedly informed LSU, the lawyer did, that it can no longer use Jaden Daniels' name, his image, and his likeness. That's right. According to this lawyer for Jaden Daniels is not happy with his alma mater, where he spent 2 years at LSU. At the center of the dispute, the LSU Tigers are allowing sophomore corner DJ Pickett to wear the number 5 jersey that Jaden Daniels wore when he became LSU's 3rd Heisman Trophy winner. That was back in 2023. Now, Daniels' jersey hasn't been worn, that number 5, hasn't been worn since Daniels wore it back in 2023, but that changed, okay? Because of this kid Pickett is wearing it now. Daniels wants to be treated, reportedly, the same way Joe Burrow has been treated. You see, Joe Burrow last played at LSU in 2019. Joe Burrow's number 9 jersey hasn't been worn since he left in 2019. By the way, Joe Burrow also that year won a Heisman Trophy, but he also did something that Jaden Daniels did not do. He led LSU to a 15-0 record and a college football national championship. Then Joe Burrow was off to the Cincinnati Bengals of the NFL. Jaden Daniels, just in case you forgot, he's no schlub. I mean, he had a great 2 seasons at LSU, especially one season in particular, when he, obviously in 2023, he won the Heisman, as I mentioned, but he did not win a national championship. His numbers in that Heisman year were off the charts great. It was really, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they're amazing. You know, running for touchdowns, throwing for over 4,000 yards. You know, his accuracy was amazing, showing off the big arm. That's why he was the number 2 overall pick. He's great. But for some reason, why is Jaden Daniels caring about somebody wearing his number 5 jersey? I mean, he's not going ahead and saying, oh, my jersey should be retired. And technically, Joe Burrow's number 9 jersey is not retired. It just hasn't been worn since 2019. But here's what I would say. Jaden Daniels, focus on the Commanders. This is a big, big year for you. Everything we're hearing out of Commanders camp right now about Jaden Daniels is great. He's becoming a leader. All those years, couple of years, sitting right next to, in the locker room, Bobby Wagner, a veteran leader who's no longer there. Neither is Zach Ertz. Guess who is becoming the leader that the Commanders need? It's Jaden Daniels entering his 3rd season. He's the franchise quarterback. This year is big for Jaden Daniels. He's coming off last year where he suffered multiple injuries. I think he only played about 4 games. We all know what he did in his rookie season. It was remarkable. The NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, 12 wins for the Commanders. Plus, he got them into an NFC Championship game. The first NFC Championship game for the Commanders since 1991. Last year happened, obviously took a step back with the injuries. That's why this year is so important for Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. Plus, that division is wide open. Although I think I already picked the Cowboys to win the division. But the Giants are going to be better. We all know about the Eagles will be right there competing for the division lead. This is a big year. So, I don't know. This LSU stuff with the jersey, 0 importance. You should put 0 energy on this. Doesn't mean anything. Look at the now and the future for the Washington Commanders and change your lawyer. Change the people around you that are yes men. And, you know, you should make a joke with this guy Pickett. You should text them or tweet him on social media and say, hey, make sure you do good to my number 5 jersey. You know, make me proud. Lighten the mood. Don't be disappointed. Don't be discouraged. Nobody cares. We all know how great a player you were wearing that jersey, Jaden Daniels, at LSU. You know it. That's the most important thing. People you care about know it. The LSU fandom knows it. They know it. They're not going to forget just because this guy's wearing your jersey. Don't worry about it. It's nothing. It's meaningless. Be better. You could be better, Jaden Daniels. We're all rooting for you. You could be comeback player of the year this year. All right, you know how we love the NFL. So, speaking of the NFL, it's that time. Roll it. Dan is Dan the Man for Dando, or simply Dan for a little 4th and Dan. How are you, Dan?
I'm good. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Listen, I got to tell you, I have a different look from last time with your Linda Cohn Show debut. It looks like you're in solitary confinement in a prison with that one light shining above.
I know that should be a new thing. Just I'm at a different location every single week. You don't know where I am. I have no.
Where's Dan?
Yeah.
Where's Dan? Right now he's in solitary confinement. We don't know what he did, but you're forgiven because I'm your mother. Okay, let's get at it. I want to educate some people here. Obviously, a lot of talk on this show and shows previous has been about the WNBA, mostly the off-court stuff, just because it falls into our lap and it's on a silver platter for people like me. A lot going on. I spoke about it earlier. I want to educate the people. You are a big fan of the W, not of the chaos, but actually the brand of basketball. You have been to more games than I have, not counting when I did play-by-play, Dan, back in the day of the WNBA for about a year. And I enjoyed it, but it was very challenging back in the day, early days. And it was amazing for me. But I'm talking about recently. You have gone to more games recently. You're in Connecticut, so you've seen a bunch of Connecticut Sun games. And you follow what these women do and how good they are at this game of basketball. So all that being said, you follow it, and now you've heard about, what's going on. You've been following that as well. How can you ignore it? Indiana Fever head coach Stephanie White now backtracking in her pre and post game. She went off on her pre-game on Tuesday night, didn't allow the very soft local media for the WNBA to even ask a question. She just stormed out. The narrative there, Dan. And then in the post game, she reiterated some of it. I'll give you and tell you my thoughts, but I'd like to hear what you thought and how Caitlin Clark, to me, was the adult in the room.
I agree. It's awesome to see Caitlin sticking up for Steph, what she does, what I would like to see. And listen, I'm a Steph White fan. What she did for the Connecticut Sun was incredible. You see how much she meant for that team by how bad the Connecticut Sun are now. Currently the second worst. We should be the worst. But I would like to see Steph White, and I have a feeling she does care about her players, but she hasn't shown that. She has shown to care more about her former player in DiJonai Carrington than her current players.
Yeah, I didn't like how she made an excuse. One of the big points I made was then her big excuse in the pregame before yesterday's game against New York. She's like, "Well, I didn't see the play in real time." She kept repeating that, and once I saw the play in real time. Well, if you did not see the play in real time during your post game on Saturday, why do you go on and on with praising DiJonai Carrington if you didn't see the play against your own player, Sophie Cunningham, in real time? That to me made no sense. Continue, Dan.
And I agree. For me, I hate excuses. Take accountability. It's like, oh, I didn't see the play. Well, you weren't watching. Steph White's a great coach. She's a great player. She knows basketball, and it's a tough situation. But we have to remember she came from the smallest market in the WNBA. No eyes were on her. Even when the Connecticut Sun were good, no one cared besides people in Connecticut and hardcore WNBA fans. Now she's in Indiana, where you have a player with the highest ROI ever in Caitlin Clark. And again, you want to be able to protect her. And it doesn't seem like Steph White, I know she got booed. I don't think it's the best look, but you can understand why these fans are pissed. You do not want to see your star player getting hurt, and you do not want to see what's supposed to be your leader, the backbone of this team, and your coach not defending the players.
Right, not defending the players. And, we talked about this earlier, Dan, me and you, and I said this, I tweeted about it, I posted about it. You see in other sports, even if the manager or the coach does not agree with their own player at that time in that moment, they back their player and have a private conversation later. You see it in all sports. That's what stuck out for me as well. And that's why she doesn't understand why she got so much criticism online, not only from me, but millions of people, because we're all sports fans. And we all see how other coaches, managers of pro sports leagues deal with situations like this.
Right. And going back to it, we've seen Caitlin Clark, and she's faced a lot more aggressive, play against her than I think a bunch of what other people have had to deal with. And I think, and this is me, I used to not be a Caitlin Clark fan. UConn guy.
You were, and I had to keep convincing you she's the real deal. Yes.
Right. I won a parlay with her, and then everything changed, and then things got easier. And again, Caitlin Clark's the greatest thing that happened in the WNBA as far as profitability, ratings, everything. She's a saving grace, and you need to protect her. And it's just unfortunate.
Yeah. I think to put a bow on the WNBA talk here right now, I think I'll say it again. It was a wake-up call for Stephanie White. It's a little different in Indiana. The league is a little different now, and you have to be conscious of that. And you have to look in the mirror more than you're looking at outside forces that you continue to blame 85% of the time. And I hope for the good of the game, for the good of Stephanie White, I hope she's learned that. And I'm glad, Dan, and you agree with me because we spoke about this earlier, she went out in front of this. It may not have been pretty. She even said, I'm only human. I'm not perfect. Paraphrasing there. But at least she got out in front of it a little later than I would have liked. Should have did it Saturday after the game Saturday. She did it before the game Tuesday and then after the game Tuesday. Better late than never. So hopefully everyone can focus on Indiana, the Fever. Stephanie White can continue to do better supporting her own players. And then they can continue to improve, and they are championship contenders, and they do play a fun brand of basketball. All right, Dan, time to switch gears. Fourth and Dan, it's what we love. We're going to, I think this is cool. I think, we're in the early stages of Fourth and Dan, and I was like, Dan, I'm thinking to myself, what does Dan love? Well, Dan used to love betting, but now he's controlled that. So now
Still do it occasionally.
But very smart.
Football leagues,
Right, very smartly you do it. And Dan loves playing fantasy football ad nauseum, like a million leagues. How many leagues are you in?
Last year I was in 8. I think this year it's only 7. So
okay, great. Way to cut back.
Trying to make cuts.
Okay, great. All right. So you know a thing or two about these two issues. So I thought let's introduce in Fourth and Dan some fantasy football tips and some betting tips. And I want to start with your betting tip of the week that people may be like sleeping on. They may not be aware of this. The floor is yours.
Right. I love futures. We're looking at Super Bowl, and I like to look at value. I think the best value pick, despite losing a key defensive piece, is the Chicago Bears. And right now they're the 15th. They're currently ranked the 15th favorite to win the Super Bowl, which to me, I think is extremely disrespectful. They went toe-to-toe in overtime with the Los Angeles Rams. Caleb, who had an incredible regular season, he threw 3 picks in the postseason that game. If he throws one less interception, makes just one less bad decision, they win that game. And we all know Caleb he's ready for greatness. He's done greatness. And I think it's good. Another year with Ben Johnson. He's really helped him. Caleb Williams has never thrown for more than 7 interceptions in a season. Turnovers aren't an issue for this guy. It was a one-time thing in the playoffs, and you're facing, again, a strong offensive mind in Sean McVay, an incredible Rams defense. I just like the value. It's at plus 2,400. I don't think you can go wrong.
If you put a few shekels down with plus 2,400, just never know. You're not going to put down a lot of money because let's face it, the NFC has some tough powerhouses, beginning with the Rams, who everyone is giving them the Super Bowl this year already before a single game is played. So that's the kind of thing. I agree with you. When you see the like disrespect, you just never know. And especially in the NFL, where we saw the Seattle Seahawks come out of nowhere, led by Sam Darnold. I don't know if you have that information. I probably should have been better and looked that up.
Right.
What were they? What was their betting odds on this day a year ago? I bet you it was up there like plus 2,400.
I think that's a fair take. Gino had them in a right middle of the pack spot. And I think with Sam Darnold, they thought it was going to be a little bit better. And it's good. Sam Darnold, what was great with him, he said he learned so much from Brock Purdy, where it's like, hey, you have all these weapons. Be a point guard. Be like Caitlin Clark. Feed the ball and let everyone else do the rest. And I think Sam said he learned a lot, and it shows. He looks like a great quarterback, and it's awesome to see a guy who was seeing ghosts on national television to proving people wrong.
Yeah, love that. When guys are dumped on, and then they say, you know what, I'll show you, and they do it. Next, your fantasy football tip.
Yeah, for me, I'm a value guy. Kyler Murray was just named starting quarterback. I think this is a great backup option for your starter. This is one of the most disrespected quarterbacks as well. We talk about Jalen Hurts, but Kyler Murray as well. We've never seen a guy ridiculed for playing video games while other quarterbacks who are doing things off the field that are seriously against the law, it's whatever.
Right.
Again, you have a season with Kevin O'Connell, offensive mind. The Vikings, they stayed in the hunt for the playoffs with one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen in J.J. McCarthy. 11 touchdowns, 12 picks with Justin Jefferson as your number one. Let's not even get me started on Max Brosmer. It was the worst quarterback situation maybe in history. I don't know if I want to go that far, but it was bad. You have a huge upgrade at quarterback. Kyler is going to have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. He's going to have Hawkinson. He has these guys, and he's going to make moments. He's a playmaker. What did we talk about before? Extending plays. He can extend plays. And on the field, we saw J.J. McCarthy, his personality got the best of him, where he was talking smack to defenders who were hitting him and all this stuff. I think they're going to have a much more mature option at the quarterback position. And if you keep Justin Jefferson happy, you're going to have a winning football team. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, Kyler Murray's going to pile up the fantasy points for you, right? Because obviously he runs with a ball as well when needs to, but he's got that arm and he's got weapons. And I can't wait to see what he can do outside of Arizona. You mentioned J.J. McCarthy, and I think let's just label that as one of your Fourth and Dan takes for this show.
Sure.
Wins a national championship with Michigan, picked higher than he should have by the Minnesota Vikings. They just thought his coach could save him and groom him and make him, the next Dan Marino or whatever it is. And it just hasn't turned out that way. Yes, he has injuries and that kind of stuff, but he really never showed any improvement, as you pointed out some of the stats. And he just wasn't handling it mentally as well. I know it's tough. I talked about this on a post about Anthony Richardson. It's tough when you are picked very high, and you should not have picked very high in the draft. And all that pressure is put on you as the next franchise quarterback. And you're a young guy. And in this world of social media and online narratives, it's hard to block that out, especially when you grew up with that. And I think J.J. McCarthy is going through similar things that Anthony Richardson did. Both injury plagued, both failing to progress. The thing with Anthony Richardson, I think he has more of an upside because of his size, athletic ability, 6'4". He did have a big arm once upon a time. He just has to be more accurate. So does J.J. McCarthy have any future, Dan, in the National Football League? And since I brought up Anthony Richardson, what are your thoughts on him?
Right. What worries me, like you said, the difference between Anthony Richardson and McCarthy is, I think with AR, I hate to say there's a work ethic issue, but it seems like that's more part of it. This guy still has one of the best throws in NFL history. We all know that deep ball to Alec Pierce, that was great. I don't think J.J. McCarthy has a future in this league. I think the best option for the Vikings right now, not totally give up on him, but Carson Wentz should be the backup. Last thing you want is for something to happen to Kyler, and, chances are Kyler might be hurt for a couple games here or there, and you have a reliable veteran. Someone who, again, I know he's a shell of what should have been an MVP year, even though I'm a Tom Brady fan. That was Carson Wentz's MVP. You have a guy who understands the game, where JJ, he needs to really take a look at himself in the mirror, take a step back, learn from these two guys who have been in the league, understand things. Kyler Murray's the best quarterback in Texas history. He's arguably the best athlete in anything. It's just incredible. This guy does it all being 5'9". I just don't see a future with JJ, unfortunately, because with him, I think he works hard. It seems like he works hard. I just don't think he has the intangibles. I think he benefited from Blake Corum cheating and, just a great coach in Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson set to start Thursday Night Football. I think it's just showcasing him. Reportedly, he wants out very quickly, Dan. Do you think an NFL team should take a chance on Anthony Richardson and give up an asset for him, or wait till he's cut? And does Anthony Richardson, do you believe, has any future in the NFL? I put it out there that he might want to consider switching positions. I mean, he'd make a great tight end. I'm not kidding. Tight ends make good money now, but should he still believe in his ability as a quarterback? And you mentioned the work ethic. Is there a future for Anthony Richardson?
It's really tough. It's really tough. I see a guy as raw as him, and you just want to see things work out. But I think what hurt him was subbing himself out. That's what teams look at. Before the Rams drafted their quarterback of the future in Ty Simpson, I thought the smart move of Sean McVay would be to get Anthony Richardson, save him, and then you can make something happen. Similar with what Jim Harbaugh is doing with Trey Lance now. I know people talk about, him trying to get JJ McCarthy. That's not happening. But with Anthony Richardson, unfortunately, what it looks like, I hope someone takes a feel for him. And the only reason he's not getting traded yet is because maybe the asking price might be a little bit higher than we think.
Right.
I think there is still a future. There's so much potential. He's so young. We have to remember he didn't play a lot of games in college. And it takes time for these guys to progress. I just think there's more intangibles there with Anthony Richardson. He's a better athlete. He's bigger. He's stronger. One of the greatest arms we've seen. If he wants to put in the work, I want to think the sky's the limit. But from what I've seen at training camp, seems like he's been checked out. Hopefully he can be checked in on a new team.
Love it. All right. Good stuff out of you. Fourth and Dan Man, Fernando, all of the above. Always appreciate you. Have
Feelings
a great
mutual.
weekend. Awesome. Bye, Dan.
Bye, Mom.
My son, Dan, bringing his NFL tags. Love it. Can only imagine how my heart feels when I have him and talk with him like this. Okay. One other story very quickly I want to get to, because I did so many SportsCenter highlights of this guy. One of the best point guards in the history of the NBA called it quits after 18 seasons. He made the announcement Wednesday on social media. I think it was important to mention. I'm talking about Russell Westbrook, 18 years in the NBA. Just a marvel to watch. You know what I love best about Russell Westbrook? He brought it every night. There was no such thing as load management for Russell Westbrook. He played hard. He was competitive. He always brought the fire. That's what I love most about Russell Westbrook. Won a league MVP. Remember when he averaged a triple-double all season long? Record after record he broke. One of those games, what did he have? 20 assists, 20 points, 20 rebounds. That was incredible. Game that was on national TV. But never won a championship. Remember, he was part of Oklahoma City with those big three, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden. You would have thought when that was molded together, they'd win one or two titles. Of course, that didn't happen. But Russell Westbrook was really fun to watch. But that's what I love most about him. And that's how I'll remember him and his career of being a guy that loved the game, loved to play, and always brought it. Never took a night off. That's what I love most. When you think about post-2000 point guards in the NBA, I think of, and who haven't won a national champ, haven't won an NBA championship, post-2000s. I think of Russell Westbrook, Steve Nash, two-time MVP there, never won a championship with Phoenix or anything. And then, of course, Chris Paul. Yeah. So for the younger people that are watching, those are like the three best point guards. I don't include Allen Iverson. This is post-2000s, okay? Post-2000s. I don't include Allen Iverson as a point guard. This guy's a two-guard. You don't want him distributing. You want him shooting the ball. AI, one of my favorite players. But Russell Westbrook calls it quits after 18 years. What a career. He'll be a Hall of Famer for sure. Dominic, come on in here. What do you think? Any thoughts on Russell Westbrook?
Man, yeah, what a storied career. Unfortunate he didn't end up getting a championship when he was with Oklahoma City, and you had Durant and Harden there. That seemed like quite a young triple threat that I was really excited about. And it's like, how did they never win a championship? That just always felt like a head scratcher to me. I know
Yeah.
Westbrook ultimately, some of the criticism he gets is like, oh, you were too selfish and things like that. It's almost like he had the Jordan mentality where he's like thinking about playing and being competitive and stuff like that. And it's just like the team he never really had the team around him, I think, in a lot of ways. It just unfortunate, but man, what a competitor. Had an attitude about him, which I kind of like sometimes. So I think it's, a good career, definite Hall of Famer. 18 years, just impressive. Any way you shake it.
Absolutely, absolutely, Dom. All right, what do you got before we close out this this fabulous show?
Yeah, to keep it with the NBA a little bit, I want to get your thoughts. The Lakers sold for $12.5 billion to Bob Iger. And I think Joshua Kushner, is that his name?
I think it was Josh Kushner. I think it was. I think that's yeah. Here's the thing. Listen, I didn't get into the weeds in this story. It did kind of amaze me because then you have to say to yourself, wait a minute, wasn't just a year ago they were sold? Yeah. And I'm like, what just happened? What just happened? But this is what I compare to. This is what blows my mind. So yeah, Mark Walter, who basically he had the team officially for only 9 months. He was the technical owner for 9 months, even though it was a year ago because it was finally approved 9 months ago. And when was the last time, I say never, that an owner of a team, okay, usually when somebody with a lot of dough buys a sports team, a professional sports team, it's like their dream as a kid. This is like their hobby. This is their shiny toy, and they hold on to it forever. Not here. This guy, Mark Walter, made a few billion profit and he sold it. It was like he treated it like a condo,
when you
like
said
real
that
estate.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to hang on to this. I know it's in a good location. I'm going to make a few more billion in the case of the Lakers. So that was my first take about it. And I had to do a double take to make sure it was true. But, well, there you go. It's the Lakers. And I saw something else, come to think of it, and I wish I would have had been in front of me, but it brought up a conversation about most expensive NFL teams. And it's still the Dallas Cowboys are number one. And I believe it went Rams 2, Giants 3. And would you believe your Jets were number 5?
Who wants to buy the
valuable? Jets? I forgot who was 4, but I'm telling you, I know the first 3. Giants were 3, Rams 2, Cowboys 1. I forgot who was 4, but I will never forget that the Jets made this list at number 5.
The only person that'll buy the Jets is Gary V. That's the only person.
Yes, we love Gary V. Yeah, he's saving up. He's saving up.
I would buy him too if I had that amount of money. But,
you and Gary V. It'll be mostly Gary V's money, but you can go.
Yeah. Speaking of teams, I never got your take on this. What do you think of the team name, the Cleveland Sirens for the WNBA? And do you think they should get another team at this point too, the league?
Oh, yeah. Well, Cleveland, obviously a city of not only rock and roll, but a city that loves its basketball. I like Sirens. I didn't have anything. It didn't, it resonates. I like that it was, I like it was that their own thing, right? Because sometimes these, WNBA teams, or sometimes you see it obviously with women's college basketball teams, they just obviously take the same name as what the men do. But in the case of a pro league WNBA, I like Sirens. Yeah.
I think it's good too. The Lake Erie Lake effect. If you've been to Lake Erie before, my goodness, there might be some sirens in there. So I'm all for it. I think it's a good. Plus, I like the Odyssey, Greek mythology. I'm all for it. I thought it was a very creative name.
I'm glad they put some thought into it. I'm glad you approve.
Yeah, me too. Hey, speaking of creative, Dan Fernando, he gets a little shout out here by who is it here? Grayman 47041. He says, I think Dan made a good call last week on the New Orleans quarterback Tyler Shuck situation. I've actually seen a few stories on this since. So how about that? Fernando might be Nostradamus. Dan is going forward.
No, he's great. As you guys will find out, and you've seen this in the first 2 weeks. And for those who missed the show last week, Dan came out and said, no one's talking about Tyler Shuck. Everyone's like, oh my God, this guy is a franchise quarterback for New Orleans. We've seen enough of them last year. And Dan brought out some things that, wait a minute, let's pause a bit. And then so kudos. I'm glad our viewers and listeners are paying attention. Hey, maybe Tyler Shuck will surprise people, but Dan thinks just hold your horses when it comes to him. Dan needs to see more.
Yeah. I think the jury's still out.
Yes.
Red Golf has a little feedback too from yet last episode. He says, imagine this woman, meaning you, as a commissioner. They'll be like, ma'am, yes, ma'am. They need a person to clean house. The league needs to be dismantled in order to fix it. It is so messed up at so many levels. So the campaign for Linda Cohn as commissioner continues.
Yeah. I'm still intrigued. I haven't gotten a call in a week, but regarding applying for that position, Kathy Engelbert still has the job. We'll see how this goes down, but so far so bad. And Dan and I talked about it in this episode. There's so much good in this league. You brought out something good about the new team in Cleveland, the Sirens. People are into it. People are into women's basketball, but they just have a hard time, Kathy Engelbert and company, of putting out the fires before they become a 10-alarm blaze. Right.
You left the burner on a little bit. Yes. You can turn it off. Don't leave it on for too long.
So that's what I would be on top of, because as I mentioned earlier, they're digging themselves into a bigger hole, and it's going to be harder to get out of, and it's going to be hard to move that heavy object because it's going to be on their backs. And they're going to have a hard time adjusting and moving that. And I don't know. So yeah, I'm listening. If they call, I'll pick up the phone, Tom.
All right. Good to hear. We'll close it out with this one here. This is an interesting one. We got Kegs6. He says, is Cam Ward going to have a Caleb Williams sophomore season? What do you think of Cam Ward's chances here?
Man, wouldn't that be wonderful? You got to root for the kid. Again, this is what we've talked about earlier when we talked about Richards. Everybody's different. Don't get me wrong. But, we saw when Jaden Daniels, who we talked about today, broke into the league, he was amazing. I mean, how many rookies lead their team to the NFC Championship game? So these are the pedestals that these young guys that are picked high, whether number 1, number 2 overall, number 3, they're put on these pedestals, and in Richardson's case, 4, that they have to perform immediately and make an instant impact. So I really do hope, Cam Ward, all we're looking for is progression in the right way. That's it. You just want to see improvement. So I hope Ward does just that. It's be fun to watch.
Yeah. I hope he does well too. Just not week 1 when they play the Jets. That's my caveat. So that's it.
Understood.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Dom. All right. Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate you. Mondays and Thursdays, 6 p.m. Eastern live, but catch us anytime. Subscribe on the channel, Linda Cohn Sports on YouTube. You already know that. And we're going up there. We're skyrocketing. And I'm just grateful for all of you and taking the time. I know you could be watching and listening to so many different things in our world. And so you being able to make the Linda Cohn Show a priority really means a lot to me. And we're just having fun here, and we're just sharing stories and opinions. And I love when you guys connect. I am going to definitely going to look at your comments. I do try to do a few each day, but keep sending me those comments. I'll be there for you because I love doing it. I love connecting with you guys. So thanks again for watching. And we will see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.